How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are talking draft. Labaron Philon has quickly become one of my favorite prospects, and I am getting really dangerously high on him. He was unbelievable in this game against Illinois, and we're going to break down his two-way performance. Like, subscribe, comment, all of this. Shout out to Cash Iggy, as always, for the cut-ups. They are the best in the biz, and we're going to start with a negative here, and that's Philon's potential finishing issues. He's not an overwhelming vertical athlete, and one of my brilliant scout friends who's like a biomechanics guy noticed that, and I kind of see it, that Philon's lower legs almost are kind of short and unstable. Like, we can see them. He's definitely not as long. Like, just compare them to a guy like Boswell's legs. Look like much more sturdy and long, and that makes sense. And he's not a super explosive leaper in traffic. He relies a lot on his touch, which his touch is great with both hands, as we'll see plenty throughout this game. But yeah, the vertical explosion isn't perfect. But I love this play from Philon because it just showcases his incredible patience and pace. He plays so damn low to the ground all of the time. And I think that's part of what makes him such an explosive driver horizontally. But look at him keep Riley in jail, hop step off of two, finish strong through contact. He's such a physical player as well. Really embraces contact and finishes well. And this is just Philon's buckets to start. And the shooting is going to be the main question. I think he only took like 1 or 2 threes in this game, and that's going to be the question for sure. Is to what extent can he shoot? But we see the touch, and Philon's a great attacker off of closeouts. He doesn't waste any time. Notice the footwork as well. His footwork is fantastic. Philon's going to plant this back foot right here because that allows him to just explode right downhill. And great hop step again. We see Philon, or it's not really a hop, it's more of a 1-2, but we see Philon playing off of 2 feet, which is something a lot of young guards aren't comfortable with. Here's a good example of vertical explosion, though. Like, this is probably the most vertically explosive play he makes this game, where you can see Philon gets his hand right on the rim right here, basically, and that's just a great finish right there in early offense, exploding past Riley, and you can see the change of pace right here. He's a very deliberate, smart player with how he moves his body. It's just he's a very unique, fascinating, physical profile mover to me, who also is very manipulative. We're going to get to this when we talk about the passing, but always be watching Philon's head. Always watch his head. Always watch his eyes, because they are always moving and always working, which is part of what makes him an incredible passer. But good step back right there. Philon's release is pretty slow. Look how much space he creates off the dribble right here. But he's just very low set point, right? It's basically at his chest, and he's got a little wind up there to get his shot going. So he's definitely gonna have to quicken his release to make the most of that space creation he can achieve off of the dribble. And Philon, one of my favorite traits about Philon is the vast majority of teenage ball handlers pick the ball right up here. They go 1, they go 2, and they try to finish, right? That obviously makes life hard. But Philon takes one more dribble, so he's, instead of being here when he jumps and leaps, he's right here, and it's way easier. He can be balanced off of 2. I think he needs to jump off of 2 a lot because of, we talked about, the lower body stuff and some of the lack of balance and the strength in his legs that hopefully he'll gain. And cookies. We'll talk about his incredible defense. He totally poked the hell out of Kasparas Yakuchonis there, who also was phenomenal in this game. And just this was an incredible game. If you're at all interested in prospects, highly recommend this one. But you can see the manipulation. Look at Philon, just this little glance out right here is such a little play that I think shows his kind of intelligence. There's nothing to really look at, but it makes the defender think for a second. It makes this defender think for a second, which opens up a lane for Philon to just go and draw a foul. We can see how sudden and explosive he is in the open floor. That's where his speed can really show off. Like I said, not the most explosive guy vertically, but fast and quick and really, really fast and explosive in the open floor. And again, we see the patience, putting Riley in jail. He is such a damn physical player, and his center of gravity is so low. As we talked about earlier, right? Philon is always so low to the ground. His torso is always bent at this angle, and it really does help him, right? Philon's not stranding. Just compare a guy like Will Riley, who has an extremely high center of gravity, to Philon, whose like angle is bent more like that, which helps him explode and generate power and go right through a weaker defender like Will Riley and finish with great touch right there. Like, he is such a physical, contact-seeking type player, and that meshes super well. And whew, there's some vertical or horizontal explosion right there, just exploding. And again, we see Riley is just like kind of hunched over right here in Philon. The shin angle really stands out to me. I think that's a good kind of measure of how explosive a guy is. Like, next time you watch Anthony Edwards play basketball, I don't have a clip, I should have had a clip, but next time you watch Anthony Edwards play basketball, pay attention to what his legs look like in terms of like how parallel they are to the floor. And I think you'll be surprised if it's not something you pay attention to when you can watch a guy like Philon or someone like Anthony Edwards, and then you compare it to a different player. Or we'll point out some examples in different parts of the video. Ends up getting blocked there, like we talked about, the kind of vertical explosion concerns, even though he's been really efficient at the rim this season. And obviously part of that is just because of transition, and he went a little too fast. He can be sometimes too fast in transition, which is interesting to me because his patience and pace in the half court is excellent, but in transition it's not always perfect. Philon here, great cut. He's a very smart off-ball player, already a really sound mover. And I just like a lot of the stuff that he can do. This is another one of my favorite plays from Philon, even though he doesn't end up converting the layup. Like, this is so impressive to me in a number of ways. Alabama's going to run him off a handoff, and once again, noticed how low Philon is this whole time. He's like at top speed right now, and Philon is bent near the floor. Explodes around the corner. Again, we see the manipulation. Look at him stare at the fucking big right here, but actually he's just gonna go right to the rim. Doesn't finish there because of the aforementioned concerns we talked about that Philon would definitely need to improve on. This might be my favorite drive of his whole game that gets negated by a foul, but we shouldn't let that obscure him blurring past Yakuchonis and hitting this, that freaking lefty reverse scoop layup. Like, whew, Philon's steal right there. We'll talk about his defense more, but look at that anticipation. He is a ridiculous defender beyond the offensive stuff that we're talking about. And I think this is also another good example where you can see he like isn't very balanced, right? He's going kind of fast. He's out of control. You can see he's like, just look at, I'm trying to look at how his foot looks on this like jump. Like, it's very like not super centered and balanced, and his leg kind of swings out to the right there. I don't know. It's something that I'm keeping an eye on for sure. And let's get to the passing. As we can see, 9 assists. He was phenomenal playmaking, and for this to be his first play, casual live dribble, left-handed skip pass over a defender to Grant Nelson, who ends up resetting the offense. But Philon's ability to pass with both hands, to showcase great visions. Both of his passes were with his left hand to start this game. Philon is not a lefty. He is a right-handed player, as we saw with most of his shots being there. Great transition player, as we talked about, just all around. He's so good pushing the ball up the floor. And Alabama's fast. They're fun. They're going to run. They're going to shoot. It's just a team that really well suits Philon. Look at that no-look in transition right there that we're going to get real quick. Staring away, look at his eyes there. They're pointing to the sideline, but the ball is really going, as we all know, into the paint for Jaren Stevenson, who had a nice game. I think we'll see a couple more Stevenson plays in this game. Philon's ability to pass off of a drive is really good. This was another good Stevenson drive. Good to see him kind of apply his physicality, expand his playmaking. This was an impressive game for him. I haven't been a huge fan of his, but more pacing manipulation from Philon right here. Really good job of him being calm. There's 1, 2, 3 defenders kind of surrounding him, but he's making a simple pass out. And look at okay, no, this is not a no-look. He actually doesn't looking at Reed, I think. But amidst that pretty considerable Illinois pressure defense, he was totally fine and comfortable making that kind of play. Don't love this read right here. Or I kind of just wish he would have kept his dribble alive a little longer. Like, I definitely get this one, and Stevenson actually is able to, I believe, get a decent look at 3 there. I'm mostly nitpicking, to be perfectly honest, but one of many examples of Philon putting Yakuchonis in jail, like he's had him all game, and kind of like stab his arm out. But you can again see the lack of balance here, where he's kind of falling over at the end of this pass, where maybe if Philon was more balanced, stronger in his core, he could just hold this paint position that he got. He's so good at getting into the paint, but Philon definitely will need improvement when it comes to like setting and staying and maintaining his position in the paint. But this is also stuff that should come with age, and we can just see the beautiful passing feel on display here. Look at how patient he is, and a lot of young point guards just sprint right into this one, especially ones as explosive horizontally as Philon. But he knows that he can wait. He's going to leave his feet, and these two defenders jump up, and he's going to be able to find Grant Nelson, who had a really nice game in this one. He was scoring the ball well. But yeah, his playmaking is phenomenal. He's one of the best passers in a class full of really impressive passers. Philon, to me, like, his skill, like I said, passing with both hands, and his processing speed is just instant. You very rarely see Philon make a decision late. And again, we see this simple manipulation, look back, look back. He's trying to confuse the defense and the help defense as much as he can at all times. And it's a really unique trait for a young player. Ends up losing his handle, but it's going to get downhill. This pass is doesn't look so crazy on the surface, but when you really break it down, like left hand wrapped around in between two defenders on a frozen rope right here, bounce pass. That wasn't, not a frozen. Maybe that was a defrosting rope right there. But anyways, Philon's processing speed, and again, this is another nice little pick and roll pass. But I want to note here, the physicality and the willingness to play through contact. Like, he probably gets fouled here by Gibbs Lahorn or Drab, going for that steal. But Philon, because of his really long arms and good ball control, staves that off and is able to get his big a pretty good look right there. Philon here. Again, we see this kind of manipulation that ends up leading to a great drive by Grant Nelson. I feel like most players will manipulate kind of outside in, right? Like they fake passing to the outside to pass at the inside. But Philon's staring at Reed the whole way before kicking back to Grant Nelson. Just a really manipulative, smart player. He can be too kind of jail happy at times, and you can see the lack of balance and control in the middle of the floor again here on this turnover, where he can just be a little not great. Oh my goodness, this no-look lob. Oh my god. I don't know if it's actually a no-look, but it was just a beautiful play. And now let's get to this defense, which wasn't the best in the first half. He's a great screen navigator, but we're going to enjoy some awesome Kasparis Yakuchonis plays in this game. His agility and the same kind of lateral mobility, change of direction stuff really helps him, and he goes for a lot of steals, which he is gamble heavy, but he's great at getting steals, forcing turnovers, long arms, quick instincts. But like I said, we'll enjoy our Kasparis. Talk about a guy who can fake you out. Oh my goodness. Look at Yakuchonis right here. Just this is insane. That's absolutely insane. I love Yakuchonis. He's such a fun player. But Philon trailing closely around these screens, and it's not always perfect for sure. But like I said, in this end of the first half, towards the second half was when he really got going. And this is another example of Philon's physicality. Excuse me, he's playing against an older, stronger, taller player in Trey White. But Philon is so good and comfortable at this bump point that White tries to put his arm into him, but he just doesn't move, stays put, and part of that is because of his anchor, because of the center of gravity. So this is offensive lineman analysis, but it's hard to move a guy when he's anchored like this with this right angle here. And Trey White isn't able to do it. Philon's length and standing reach is able to contest there. Just like I said, a very unique physical talent that I'm just really interested in. He's a super physical defender, like we keep talking about, fronting the post, which he had a couple plays in this game where he just forced tough passes, turnovers, because he didn't allow a big on a switch to get easy post position. And that's a really valuable thing for a guard defender to be able to do. This rebound was cool too. He just slung it over his defender to his head. Philon here, let's see what he's doing. I did watch this game, but I don't remember every single play. Again, we see him trying to reach and go for a steal. That's just the thing that's going to happen with Philon, with the way he defends and how aggressive he can be. But one of my favorite little micro skills of Philon's is he is so quick to react to these passes and always gets his hand up in the passing lane. Again, first ducking around the screen, I'm going to note how low Philon gets to the ground. Again, ridiculous. But he gets his hands, he's reading pass immediately. He doesn't get the deflection on this. And there's another example of this later in the game where he doesn't get the deflection, but he is going to get a lot of deflections and does get a lot of deflections doing that. Great box out by Philon there. And I think that's an underrated trait that I really like of him against passers. And oh my God. I was like sitting in my coffee shop where I work watching this game this morning. This pass, I just was like, what? I really wanted to be like, hey, this random person next to me, watch this play. I know you don't know anything about this sport, but it's like, oh my lord. Anyways, enough about Yakuchonis. We're going to start a string of great reps. And again, Philon getting super low, bending around the screen. Will Riley, definitely not an explosive guy or anything, and he's much weaker than Philon, even as a fellow freshman. But we saw Philon's ability, and again, we see him kind of get beat by the screen, and Alabama switching because they can have Philon fronting the post, and I think they get a good shot here. But this is one of those plays where you can just see the wheels turning quickly for Philon in terms of where he's supposed to be. Immediately recognizes that Darion Reed is stepping up to help, and this guy's going to be open, so Philon can sink down right there. He just isn't like super perfectly positioned. They can't end up blocking the shot, but it shows me some kind of baseline defensive instincts and awareness. And this is just another great example of Philon playing low to the ground. Look at how his ability to like move his torso independent of his hips is really impressive. You can see his hips kind of flying around, but his torso stays upright. And again, it's kind of hard to see his lower body here. But look at this stance. This is absurd. This is absolutely crazy that he's able to maintain his balance, hands up, and force that miss. Like this is ridiculous shit. Like go outside and try to do what he did. Talking about shin angles, like look at how upright Will Riley is on this drive, for example, compared to the stuff we saw Philon do earlier in the game. And Philon stop on a dime. Really, it's going to be really hard to shake him as an isolation defender. Obviously, there's going to be strength guys, and here's the other example I was talking about in terms of Philon getting his hands up. Right there. Hands up. Maybe like a smidge late there, and then he's going to rotate to protect the rim, because of course he is. He's just having that kind of game. And this game was really absurd. Like I really enjoyed this basketball game. Philon ducking again under the screen, gets back in front. Once again, the timely switches. So many little things on this play. He gets low, ducking under the screen. He staves off that bump. Again, we see his like balance and ability to get low and maintain his ankle flexion and his right ankles there. And then immediately peels off to switch to the big. Grant Nelson ended up making the play. Like, this Alabama team is really fun, and Philon is going to be a saving grace for their defense, where, you know, guys like Youngblood and Aiden Holloway and obviously Mark Sears are great, but they're not really defenders like that. And Philon is a defender like that, and his offense is also really encouraging, as we've talked about. Like, I think the upside with him is really high as a guy who has this incredible basketball intellect and is going to be, I think, has really high defensive potential for sure. But then, like, if you can kind of continue to improve his strength as a finisher, and if the shooting is going well, like, this is a guy who creates advantages off of the dribble. He's going to capitalize as a passer, incredibly patient with the ball as a floor general, but potentially can score kind of intermediate floater range and at the basket as well. So I think the idea of Philon is like a scalable on and off ball guard who can do a lot of things on both ends of the floor with some sneaky star upside. If he just gets like really, really good at one or two things, is there. So he's going to be one of my favorite guys to watch throughout the season. And I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something.